Welcome to Ganitika.com. This is a website for mathematics lovers, learners, and leaders. This is the second video in the series of videos for IB Maths AAHL Paper 3 questions. In this video, I am going to solve question number 2 of Specimen Paper 3. Before you start, look at the maximum marks given for the question. It's 25. The total number of marks given for this paper is 55 and the total time given is 60 minutes. Therefore, if you do the calculation, you know that you have approximately 1 minute for 1 mark in this paper, which means this question should take 25 to 27 minutes maximum. So you keep your time in such a way that you complete this question within 27 minutes maximum. So you can time yourself for this. So whatever question you get, if you get a 2-mark question, try to finish that 2-mark question in 1 minute so that you can save that extra minute for more difficult problems at the end of the question. So if a 5-mark question is given, you can try to finish that 5-mark question in 3 minutes so that the extra 2 minutes can be used for more difficult questions at the end of the paper. Let's read the first statement given in the question. This question asks you to investigate some properties of the sequence of functions. So this is not sequence of numbers, this is sequence of functions. So you can underline or highlight the important words in this statement. So some properties of the sequence of functions. Why is it called a sequence of functions? Because it's in the term of fn of x. As you change the values of n from 1, 2, 3, etc., you will get f1 of x as cos of r cos x, f2 of x as cos of 2 r cos x, f3 of x will be cos of 3 r cos x. So if you have your notebook in front of you, make a note of this. f1 of x is what, f2 of x is what, f3 of x is what. So you can keep in mind that this is a sequence of functions that is going to be discussed in this question. You are also given that x is between -1 and 1 and n is any positive integer. Apart from this information, you are also given an extra information in this question where it says, while sketching the graphs, you are not required to find any coordinates of axis intercepts or stationary points. Generally, when you are asked to sketch a graph in paper 1 or paper 2, you will be advised to mention all the coordinates including axis intercepts, stationary points, any other points of inflection, asymptotes, etc. But in this question, it's specifically asking you not to find out any of the axis intercepts or stationary points. So it is enough if you just give the shape of the curve correctly. Before you go to the first part of this question, let's analyze the information given on the top. We are going to investigate some properties of the sequence of functions. So this sequence of function when n equal to 1 is going to be cos of or cos of x. So let's collect our thoughts together and see what are the things that we know about cos of r cos x. First thing that we know is the domain of r cos x is going to be between -1 and 1, which is given in the question. Therefore, the domain is not a problem for this question. So this is a checklist that you can have before you start reading the question paper. Next is, you know that cos of r cos x is equal to x. Usually f of f inverse of x is always equal to x, but in case of trigonometry, cos of cos inverse of x is equal to x only when x is in the interval -1 to 1. And we know this. Therefore, in any part of this question, if you get cos of r cos of x, which is cos of cos inverse of x, you can substitute that as x because the domain is satisfied in this case. Therefore, you can keep this in your mind while you are solving this question. In the same way, you can think about any other information that comes to your mind on the information given here. For example, you can write the range of r cos of x, which is 0 to pi, or anything else that comes to your mind can be written at this point of time. This information will help you a lot while you are solving this question. So it's better you take a moment to write all that comes to your mind after reading the first statement of the question. Let's proceed to the first part of the question. On the same set of axes, sketch the graphs of f1 of x and f3 of x. So you are asked to find f1 and f3, not f2. Be careful. You can circle that so that it is in your mind and you are not distracted. f1 of x and f3 of x is what you are going to graph now. So if you have your calculator with you, please take it out now and pause the video here and try to sketch the graphs of f1 of x and f3 of x and sketch it on your notebook. Now let's write what is f1 of x. f1 of x is cos of r cos of x because n equal to 1. f3 of x will be cos of 3 arc cos of x. So n equal to 3. Now you are going to graph these two on your graphing calculator, which gives a shape like this. One thing that you need to notice here is my x-axis is from negative 1.5 to 1.5, even though the question is asking me to draw between -1 and 1. Why did I take extra points on the left and right of the x-axis? This is purely because if you do this, you will be able to get a better picture of the graph so that it is easy for you to sketch it on your paper. Now that you have extra space on either side of the x-axis, you know exactly how the graph is going on the x-axis and on the y-axis. Now let me sketch this. Sketch the x and y-axis, and do not forget to label the axis clearly, x and y, and sketch this like this. Just draw the shape of the two graphs, and do not forget to label the graphs. So this is f1 of x and this is f3 of x. If you don't label, the examiners might not know what is what. So it's better to label the graphs whenever you sketch a graph on your notebook. So once you are done here, the question is done. So on the same set of axes, you have sketched f1 of x and f3 of x. So keep in mind the graph looks like this. Next, proceeding further, for odd values of n, so now you are going to look into the odd values of n. Already you did 1 and 3, therefore you are already going into the odd values for n. f1 of x is done, f3 of x is done. So we are going to go further with the same sequence of values for n, which is odd values. But we are not going to do f1 of x here, but we are going to analyze from f3 of x onwards. Use your graphing calculator to systematically vary the values of n, which means you have to start with n equal to 3, n equal to 5, n equal to 7, etc. Systematically vary the value of n, which means you cannot pick any value of n at random. For example, you cannot do n equal to 7, n equal to 11, and then n equal to 3, and so on. You are supposed to make it as a sequence of odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, in that order, and then you have to change the graph accordingly. You can use sliders if you are comfortable, or you can just plug in each function f3 of x, f5 of x, f7 of x one by one and sketch them on your notebook. The question is not asking you to sketch it, so you don't have to show the sketch on your paper, but you can sketch them on the side in order to identify what is the question asking you for. So now you pause the video again, use your graphing calculator, sketch the functions f3 of x, f5 of x and f7 of x separately. If you are done, you can continue with this video. Look at the second part of the question. You are supposed to find the number of local maximum points and the number of local minimum points. Remember, in the important note of the question, you are told not to find any coordinates of axis intercepts or stationary points. Therefore, in this case, you are not finding the actual maximum points or actual minimum points. You are only finding the number of local maximum points and the number of local minimum points. So if you know the shape of the curve, you can identify how many maximum points are there, how many minimum points are there. So for this you can make a table of values for n equal to 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. like this, and then you can fill in the table with the number of local minimum and the number of local maximum points for each n values. For example, when n equal to 3, there are 1 minimum and 1 maximum points. When n equal to 5, the graph has 2 maximum and 2 minimum points. When n equal to 7, you will have 3 maximum and 3 minimum points, and so on. Check your graphing calculator or the sketch again and see if you have got the same number of maximum and the same number of minimum points here. And you can check that all these functions have the same number of local maximum and the same number of local minimum points when n is odd. So that is the observation you could do in this place. So now that you are asked to suggest an expression for odd values of n in terms of n. So this is the next task for you. So you are going to suggest a pattern for odd values of n for the number of local maximum and number of local minimum points in terms of n. So let's collect the sequence. For n equal to 3, the number of local minimum or maximum is 1. For n equal to 5, it is 2. For n equal to 7, it is 3, and so on. So you can see that for n equal to 11, what would it be? It's going to be 5. For n equal to 15, what's it going to be? Consider the pattern and find out what is going to be for n and obviously it is going to be n minus 1 over 2 is going to satisfy this relationship. For any n value which is odd, n minus 1 by 2 will be the number of local minimum and the number of local maximums in this case. So this is the question asking you to do. You have to find the number of local minimum and local maximum points in terms of n for odd values of n. For odd values of n, you are making the sequence for 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, etc. and identifying the pattern for any n, what will be the number of local maximum or number of local minimum points. So this question is for 4 marks. It's easy to identify the first part of the question. The table part is easy to do, so you would have taken a minute or two for that. If you are not able to identify this n minus 1 over 2 within a minute, please move on to the next question. Don't stay in this question for more than 4 minutes. So let's proceed further. On a new set of axes, sketch the graphs of f2 and f4 of it. Now we are going to do even values for n. So pause the video here again. Find f2 of x and f4 of x from the GDC. Sketch them on your notebook. And again you see that your x axis is between minus 1.5 and 1.5, so that you can have a clear picture for the domain minus 1 to 1. So this is going to be your graph. f2 of x looks like a quadratic and f4 of x looks like a quartic curve. And you're going to do the same thing again here for even values of n more than 2. So we are not going to use f2 of x. We are going to start with even values from 4 onwards. So n equal to 4, n equal to 6, n equal to 8. Again pause the video. Graph for f4 of x which is already done. Now sketch the graphs of f6 of x and f8 of x, f10 of x, and check how many number of local maximum points and how many number of local minimum points you are getting in each case, and make a table like this. N equal to 4, 6, 8, 10. Number of local maximum is 1 for n equal to 4. Number of local minimum is 2 for n equal to 4, and so on. You can check this table and compare it with your table and see that you have got the same answer. Now the question is asking you to suggest an expression as before in terms of n for these 2, 3, 4, 5 for local minimum, and for local maximum 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So for 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., the number of local minimum, we can say that the pattern is n over 2. It is half of the n values. And if you look at the pattern for number of local maximum, it is 1 less than the number of local minimum always. Therefore, n over 2 minus 1 will be the pattern for number of local maximum. So here you have got number of local minimum is half of n. Number of local maximum is half of n minus 1. Now for question E. It's asking you to solve the equation of the derivative equal to 0, which means you can have an idea that we are going to find the stationary points in this graph. So first of all, let's find what is the derivative of this function fn of x, cos n or cos of x. So pause the video here, find the derivative of this and come back to the video. Now I'm going to give you the answer for the derivative of cos of n or cos of x. We have to use chain rule here. So cos becomes minus sign, and cos inverse becomes minus 1 over root of 1 minus x square. Simplifying this, you will get this as the expression for fn dash of x. Now you have to solve the equation for fn dash of x is equal to 0, which means the expression that you got here should be equal to 0. Simplifying that expression, you will get sine of n r cos of x is equal to 0. Only when x is not equal to plus or minus 1. Why? Because the denominator has square root of 1 minus x square. You can multiply by this denominator on both sides of the equation only when the denominator is not equal to 0. So when x is equal to plus or minus 1, root of 1 minus x square becomes 0. Therefore, you should not be having the x values as plus or minus 1. Only in that case you can have sine of n r cos of x is equal to 0. So solving this, so pause the video here, try to find the x value in terms of cos k pi over n as given in the question, and come back to the video and check your answer. In this case, we know that x is not equal to plus or minus 1. Keep it safe there so that it might be helpful in the later stage. Now simplifying this, you will have n r cos of x is equal to k pi. You know that r cos of x, the range of this is 0 to pi, which is positive. Therefore, r cos of x is always positive above the x-axis. and n is a positive integer. Therefore, both n times r cos of x should give a positive number. Therefore, the k is a positive integer. That part of the question is satisfied now. You have n r cos of x is equal to k pi, and we have, because both of them are positive, k has to be a positive integer. Now simplifying this, you can see that x is equal to cos of k pi over n. This is all very easy to do, but k belonging to z plus is something that you need to think about, and you might have to give reasons why k is positive integer. This is mainly because both n and cos inverse of x are always positive. Therefore, the answer should be a positive value. Therefore, k has to be a positive integer. This is the reason you need to give there. And the next part of the question has 0 less than k less than n. You have to give reason why k has to be between 0 and n, and why k cannot be equal to 0 or n. For this, we are going to use this concept for x not equal to plus or minus 1. From this result, you can see that when x is equal to 1, k will be 0 because cos 0 is 1. When x is equal to minus 1, k will be n because cos pi is minus 1. If you substitute k as n in the equation, you will get cos pi, which is equal to minus 1, which satisfies x is equal to minus 1. So, but x is not equal to these two numbers, therefore k is not equal to 0 or n. And minus 1 to 1 is x values, and k pi over n is in the range of r cos of x, therefore it is between 0 and pi. And therefore, simplifying this, you will get 0 less than k less than n, and this is what is required in the question. So, you have three parts in this question. One is expressing x as cos k pi over n. The other is saying that k is a positive integer, and the third one is you have to give reasons why k is between 0 and n, not equal to 0 and not equal to n. So, let's proceed to the next question. The sequence of functions can be expressed as a sequence of polynomials in degree n. So, in which case f2 of x will be in a quadratic, f3 of x will be a cubic, f4 of x will be a quartic, etc. So, we are going to analyze or investigate how we can write this sequence of numbers in terms of sequence of polynomials. So, for that, question F says use an appropriate trigonometric identity to show that f2 of x is equal to 2x square minus 1. Let's write f2 of x first. f2 of x is equal to cos of 2 arc cos of x. So, this is the expression for f2 of x. Now, we have to get rid of all the causes and arc causes from the question. So, how is it possible? That is why you are given this information that you have to use appropriate trigonometric identity. Now, think about all the identities that you know. You can use your formula booklet. So, the first identity that comes to your mind is cos square plus sin square is equal to 1. The second identities could be secant square minus tan square equal to 1, and so on. You also have cos a plus b formula, cos a minus b formula, but you are also having cos 2 theta formula, which will be more appropriate for this situation. So, cos 2, it looks like cos 2 something. So, you might be able to use cos 2 theta identity here, which can give you 2 cos square theta minus 1, which is very similar to the expression that we want to bring in. Therefore, use this cos 2 theta equal to 2 cos square theta minus 1 trigonometric identity and simplify this f2 of x. Therefore, if I write r cos x as theta, then I can make this as f2 of x as cos 2 theta, which in turn can be written as 2 cos square theta minus 1, but still we are not in terms of x. Therefore, we have to write cos theta in terms of x. So, from this expression r cos x is equal to theta, we can say that x is equal to cos theta. Therefore, 2 cos square theta minus 1 will be 2x square minus 1, which is what we want. So, we have expressed f2 of x as a polynomial in degree 2, which is quadratic. So, we are done with this f question here. So, we are going to go to the next question, which is g. In this case, they are asking you to express fn plus 1 of x as some expression in trigonometry. For that, you are asked to consider fn plus 1 of x as cos of n plus 1 r cos x, which is the definition of fn of x, correct? In the place of n, you are writing n plus 1 of x. But looking at what we want in the question g, we have cos something times cos something minus sin something times sin something, which technically looks like cos of a plus b formula, right? Cos of something times cos of something minus sine of something times minus something, sine of something. So you can think here, what does it look like, so that you can work backwards. So it looks like cos of a plus b. So let me see if I can make fn plus 1 of x as cos of a plus b. So I have n plus 1 r cos x inside. If I open the bracket for n plus 1, I'll get n r cos x plus r cos x. So now it looks like cos of a plus b. So if you have given the thought that the final answer looks like cos a plus b, you will be able to identify that you have to open the bracket for n plus 1 times r cos x. Then you will get cos of a plus b form. Once you get this form, the question is done. You have to just expand using the formula. You will get cos n r cos x minus sin n r cos x sin r cos x, where a and b are given there. So you are done with the question here. So it's easy. It's not a very difficult question. A 2 mark is easily got. Next H question is asking you hence. So this is a hence question. Therefore, you will be using the previous question's results. Fn plus 1 of x is given like this in the previous question. Next is we need to find what is Fn minus 1 of x in the same way. So let's see what is F1 minus of x. This is n minus 1 r cos x inside. So you used cos a plus b in the previous case. Maybe you can use cos a minus b in this case by expanding n minus 1 r cos x like this. So it is a cos of a minus b formula, cos a cos b plus sin a sin b. So you have this as fn minus 1 of x. So when you add these two functions, you are going to cancel these two terms because they are of opposite signs. And you will be adding these two together to give you 2 cos n r cos of x times cos of r cos of x. But go back and look at the equation. This is not what you want. You want 2x fn of x. So you have the 2 there, that's fine. But what is cos n r cos x? This is fn of x by definition. So we have fn of x there. And in the beginning, we identified that cos of r cos x is equal to x for x values between minus and 1. Because the x value in this question is between minus 1 and 1 as given. Therefore, you can substitute cos r cos x as x. Therefore, this becomes 2 fn of x into x, which is what we want. Going to the next part of question H, express f3 of x as a cubic polynomial. We have been told that f3 of x can be expressed as a cubic polynomial. In order to express it as a cubic polynomial, you were given question G and question H1 as a guiding question. So here you want f3 of x. Therefore, making n plus 1 as 3, n minus 1 as 1 and n equal to 2 in the previous question, you can write this as f3 of x plus f1 of x is equal to 2x f2 of x. And we know what is f1 of x and f2 of x. f1 of x is cos inverse of x, which is equal to x because of the domain given. And f2 of x, just now we proved that it is equal to 2x square minus 1. Therefore, substituting these two values into here, we get the final expression as 4x cube minus 3x. And this is the end of this paper. I hope you understood all the questions and you understood how to think for these type of questions. Next, let's see some tips for this paper 3. Do not overthink. Just answer the question as given there. Don't go beyond what is asked there. Just follow the questions one by one, as I said, one question at a time. Just follow the question and answer them, and keep in mind what was solved in the previous question. Questions are mostly based on very basic ideas of the concept used here. For example, in this case, you were using cos a plus b formula, cos 2 theta formula. You were just graphing the shape of the graph. You were not even finding the coordinates of axis intercepts or stationary points. You did not go beyond the basic concepts here. Within the basic concepts, you were able to prove a lot of things in this question. So read all the information word by word and understand them clearly. You can also highlight or underline important words as I did in this video. Do not stay on a question for more than a minute. As I said, this paper is for 55 marks for 60 minutes, which means you can have 1 minute for 1 mark, and you can save the time for the harder questions at the end of the paper, or after you finish the paper, you can go back and review your paper. For this, you need some time. So you can keep in mind that you have 1 minute, 1 mark. So if you have a 5 mark question, you can only solve it in 5 minutes maximum. I've been giving this information throughout this video, so you know how to tackle time in this case. Show all methods clearly. This is very important because you have method marks. Even if you are not getting the final result, that's okay. At least you will get method marks. So try to show all the methods, all your thought processes very clearly on your paper. They will fetch you some marks. Thanks for watching. See you later in the next video with May 2021 TZ1 question paper 3. Bye bye. Until next.